Last night, we completed a trade with the Arizona Diamondbacks in which we traded Josh Naylor in exchange for Slade Ciccone, a right-handed pitcher who was in the major leagues in AAA last year, and a competitive balance pick in the 2025 Major League Draft. I'll talk about the trade in a minute, but before doing that, I just want to talk a bit about Josh Naylor. Obviously, trades like this involving not only a player of Josh's caliber, but someone who's been an incredible teammate, a great worker, someone who's developed into from an emerging major league player into one of the more productive hitters in the American League last year, and deservedly was an all-star nomination. And not only did he have those accolades on the field, but was a great teammate in our organization and made a great impact in the community. So I certainly appreciate how trading someone like Josh is really difficult, but in the end, there are sometimes deals like this in which we balance both the present and the future. Makes sense. We are hopeful that we will have a corresponding transaction in the next couple of days in which to share, in which we add back to our major league team and reinvest the salary we're going to pay Josh into another player. And we believe we'll end up with another major league strong, high quality major league caliber first baseman, in addition to the future value we received with the competitive balance pick and Slade Ciccone, who has a chance to contribute right out of the gate. He'll come into spring training this year, competing for a spot in starting rotation and the bullpen. And we're hopeful he can impact our team not only for this year, but for years to come. So with that, I will pause and open it up for questions.
So, Chris, you can't say anything about Santana or.
What I can say is I'm hopeful that we will have a corresponding transaction in which we will add another major league first baseman.
Was there ever a point where you talked extension with Josh Naylor?
I'm not sure how constructive it is to replay the past on that, Paul. I think we've really appreciated, like I said, we really appreciated the contributions Josh made while he was here. And, the reality that we were faced with this offseason is he had, he was set to be a free agent at the end of the year and after the season.
Chris, obviously you've made the moves. I don't know if challenging is the right word, but you've traded the right side of your infield after coming off a 92 win AL division win ALCS. How is that challenging to do?
It's always, I would start, Tom. It's challenging trading the people like Andres and Josh. I think we all have grown to appreciate them as players, but I think it's also important to remember both of them came in trades, in very difficult trades. So in terms of how we have to operate moving forward, there are times when we have to make difficult decisions involving very good players, but our goal continues to be, how do we find a way to field competitive teams, both in the near term and long term? And that sometimes necessitates difficult decisions. But to be clear, our goal in 2025 is to try to find a way to win the American League Central. As I said, we're hopeful that we will complete a transaction where we add to the right side of that infield in free agency, and we feel like we have some really strong quality alternatives at second base, both at the major league level and the upper levels of our minor leagues.
Chris, what does it look like beyond who you may add in the next couple of days? What other options do you have at first base that you can see, going forward, both near and long term?
Well, we saw Kyle Manzardo emerge in the second half of last year. He came back a much better player after he was optioned midseason. Really went down to AAA and applied some of the learnings from the major leagues and came back and was a force for us in the second half of the season and into the postseason. So he's one obvious candidate. John Kenzie Noel, who got most of his time in right field, is also capable of playing first base. And then we have a handful of other guys, both at the major league level and throughout the minor and the upper levels of our minor leagues that we think could contribute.
Chris, how important was it to get that draft pick from the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, that was an important consideration, Jeff. As you know, the draft is a really important method for us to bring talented players into the organization, and to be able to get a competitive balance pick that will be somewhere after the second round, but before the third round, was a really important component.
Hey, Chris, with Luis Ortiz, obviously after you guys acquired him, talked about how strong his second half was. So, Ciccone a little bit more up and down last season. What do you kind of see from him? What did you like about him, and why was he a pitcher you guys were targeting other than him being at the early stages of his major league career?
Slade has a really good track record in the minor leagues. His calling card has been his ability to attack the strike zone with really low walk rates. He's got a good fourth pitch mix. His fastball usually is in the mid 90s. Has been up to I think 98 or 99 out of the relief role, and it's a good complement of pitches. And we're excited to be able to bring a guy like that into our system, have him work with our pitching group. Hopefully, he can contribute at come into spring training, win a job, and contribute from day one. But it's one again, Jordan, I would say it ties into the bigger theme this offseason. One of the things we were seeking to do was bring in major league and upper level pitching, specifically starting pitching options. And I think on balance, when you look at the totality of the transactions that we've been able to complete this winter, we've been able to significantly fortify that group. And Slade fits into that.
Chris, you guys have been busy this winter. I mean, Hedges, Bieber, the trades with Jimenez in Pittsburgh. Now this, right now, overall, where do you see this team standing? Are you better than you were at the end of last season, or what do you think?
I hope so, Paul. Again, our goal is to try to repeat what we did last year and winning the American League Central and trying to continue to advance in the postseason and win that final game. I would also reiterate, while the acquisitions that we've made we think are important and will help us towards that, one of the most important things for us is the continued maturation and development and progression of the players that will continue to be here. Guys that were here last year that will continue to be key parts of our major league team moving forward. And we need to make sure that we're helping that group continue to develop. And as I shared with you before, we've spent quite a bit of time across the organization trying to support that group's growth and development. And we'll continue to do that moving forward.
Hey, Chris, what does Kyle Manzardo's offseason look like thus far, and now with a path to him, getting more opportunities, getting more playing time at first base? What's it going to look like as you head into spring training?
Yeah, Kyle's worked really hard. We've been in close touch with him. We've got a chance to see a lot of videos of the work he's doing with his swing, and our hitting team's helping him continue to support his efforts there. So we've been in close contact with him, and by all accounts, Kyle has had a really strong start to the offseason. We'll look forward to seeing him out in Goodyear in January in person to help him continue that progression.
What about John Kenzie at first, Chris? I mean, he's a terrific athlete, obviously, and showed a solid glove in right field, great range, etc. How much has he played there, and what are your plans for him in the offseason there?
Yeah, we view him to be a very capable first baseman. We didn't have a lot of time there last year. Obviously, I think Josh started close to 140 games there, and Kyle started some games there, so there just weren't very many reps at first base for John Kenzie. But when he played there, he did a good job. He's done a good job with that in the minor leagues. So we view it as another way to get his bat in the lineup. That could be at first base, that could be at DH, that could be in right field. And you've heard me talk in the past about the value of versatility for players, and the more positions they can capably play, the better chance they have to impact the lineup. And that's one of the things I think we're excited about is the group of players at the major league level, like John Kenzie and some others, do have flexibility to play some other positions, and that gives us the ability to mix and match and find the best lineup on any given day.
Chris, it looks like with these trades, Jimenez, and you signed Bieber and trade Naylor and the move you'll make at first base. I mean, it all looks like kind of a wash financially. So I'm just curious, like, as you go forward this offseason, where are you guys at in terms of being able to go out in the market and, fulfill needs that way?
Yeah, I think that's about right, Anthony. As we looked at the totality of the transactions, I think that's about where it comes out financially, maybe a bit more than where we were. But I do think we will have opportunities to continue to reinvest in the team if there are the right players there at the right position. As I shared with you previously, a big component of that for us is thinking about, for any acquisition, whose playing time or innings will that displace? Because like I said, our success is going to be really dependent upon the young players we have continuing to take advantage of those opportunities, and we want to be mindful about putting obstacles in their way to doing that.
Chris, did you feel Naylor's conditioning or future conditioning, did that play any part in this deal?
That wasn't a concern for us at all. So I think you'll have to check. Obviously, that's a better question for someone else.
What do you think Bo's reaction will be?
I think Bo's a professional. I mean, he's been able to have success in the minor leagues when he wasn't paired with Josh. Obviously, it was a pretty cool and unique moment to be able to play and have some of the moments he and Josh shared together at the major league level. So inevitably there will be disappointment, I'm sure, but I know Bo is a great competitor that cares about winning and being the best performer he can for his teammates. And I'm confident he'll be able to move forward productively with that. I plan on connecting with Bo here in the next day or so to talk through things with him.
Chris, was this something that you guys have been discussing for most of the offseason, or is it a deal that kind of came together as the first base market really picked up over the last couple of days?
I think the best way I've shared with you before, the offseason is a time when teams are engaged about players up and down their roster. So in Josh's case in particular, teams started calling us on he and a host of other players on our roster, going back to the GM meetings. And then over the course of the winter, you have ebbs and flow, or there's ebbs and flow to that dialogue. And sometimes the intensity picks up, sometimes it subsides. And I think a really important component for us as we contemplated any trade involving Josh was how could we complement the major league team. If we ended up trading him, how could we make sure we were able to bring someone in to fill that void if we were to trade him? And so, obviously you've seen that market, and the first base market has really moved forward over the last week. So that probably allowed the timing to work the way it did.
Chris, has there been any progress with Lane Thomas or Stephen Kwan maybe on a deal or an extension?
I appreciate you asking, Paul, but I know you know me well that I will not talk about the specific players or those discussions. I just don't feel that to be fair to them or necessarily productive. So, but I understand you need to ask.
All right, Seton Hall, Georgetown. Who you got?
I'll always take the Hoyas, even if it's not a good bet. Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays.